Okay, welcome back. We're going to wrap this up. I got a few problems to do with you, and then I'm going to let you do a few on your own. So let's go ahead and make our table. We know our table has to consist of those two numbers multiplied together to give you a positive 3, and this number right here, they have to add up to get a positive 4. So numbers that multiply to get 3 are 1 and 3, and negative 1, negative 3. These add up to get positive 4, and these add up to get a negative 4. So the two that we're looking for is positive 1 and positive 3. So we're going to say find the y-intercept. So if we find the y-intercepts, we know the y value is equal to 0. That's equal to x squared. And then now this is where we put our 1 and 3 into play. We say plus 1x plus 3x, because 1x and 3x make 4x. And then we bring down plus 3 here at the end. Next step, break this up. So we have x squared plus x. We know that this is x times x, and this is the invisible 1 times x. And so, what do they have in common? They have that x in common. And with that x in common, we pull it outside, and inside we're left with x plus 1. Don't forget, if you pull this x outside, there's still the invisible 1 in front of it, and that's the number that goes into the parentheses. All right, now let's look at 3x plus 3. 3x plus 3. Well, we know it's 3 times x, so we know that they have a 3 together. And in having that 3 together, we pull that 3 outside. Inside the parentheses, you get the x. And what comes out of this 3? 3 times x plus 3 times 1 is what we really have here. That's what we really have. And so when you circle this 3 to bring it outside, you have x and you have 1 that will go inside the parentheses. Like that. So that's what you're looking at. And let's go from there. 0 is equal to, we'll bring all this over, x plus 1 inside the parentheses, and then we bring all of this over. And remember, this is a positive 3, so we're going to put plus 3, x plus 1. This and this go inside one parentheses together, and x and plus 3 go inside another parentheses together. And we need to find the y-intercept, so we will say x plus 1 is equal to 0, and x plus 3 is equal to 0. Minus 1 from both sides. X will equal negative 1. Minus 3 from both sides. X will equal negative 3. So you have two answers. Those are the two solutions. Those are your two x-intercepts. Those are your two roots. Okay? This one here says solve, and this one is no different than the last problem we've done, other than we need to get this to say is equal to 0. So in order to do that, we add 54 to both sides of the equation. Add 54 to both sides. So we get x squared minus 15x plus 54. That's equal to 0, because negative 54 plus 54 is 0. Let's make our little table here. This number and 54. So what's 1 times 54? Positive 54. And that number there goes to the right. So what are the numbers that multiply to get 54 that add up to get negative 15? Well, we know 1 times 54. 2 times, if you don't know what 2 times a number is 54, then you take 54 divided by 2, and that will give you the other number. 2 times 27. I believe 3 times 18. 6 times 9. And I'm pretty sure that's it. Yep. So we add these up. 1 plus 54 is 54. 2 plus 27 is 29. 3 plus 18 is 21. And 6 plus 9 is 15. What? You're looking there. That's not it. Because we need a negative 15. Well, these are all the numbers that multiply to get positive 54, right? Wrong. Wrong. That is false. That is false. Remember, these are all the positive numbers that multiply to get positive 54. If we have two negatives that multiply, they also get positive 54. Or I'm sorry, not positive. Yeah, when you multiply them, they get positive 54. And so negative 1 minus 54, negative 55. Negative 1 minus 27, negative 29. Negative 3 minus 18, negative 21. And negative 6 minus 9, negative 15. And I know I said negative 6 minus 9, but that's also the same as adding the two negatives together. Minusing is the same as adding two negatives. So this is it. These are our numbers that we will be splitting. We're going to split negative 15x up into negative 6x and negative 9x. Drop down everything else. This is what we have. So let's go ahead and take this first one. We have x squared minus 6x. So this is x times x, and this is 6 times x. We know there's an x in both of them, so we bring it outside, and we're left with x minus 6 inside. Now let's work with negative 9x and 54. So we have negative 9 times x and a positive 54. Well, since I have negative 9, or since I have 9 there, does 9 go into 54? And since 9 does go into 54, I'm going to use 9. I could have also used like 3. I could have taken a 3 out of those, but then I would have also, just let me show you, watch this part. 54 is 3 times 18. We found that out up here. So if you look at 54, I could have taken a 3 out of both of them. But when I would have done that, I still would have had negative 3 times x, and this 18 would have been a positive 3 times 6. 18 breaks down into 3 times 6. So then I would have also had to pull another 3 outside. So to save you the number of steps that you're doing here, you should always try and get out the largest number possible. The largest number possible in this case is 9. Because 9 times 6 is 54. So we're going to pull out a 9. And when we pull out that 9, we're left with, don't forget your negative sign, negative x, positive 6. I'm looking at this parentheses compared to this parentheses, and they're not the same. But remember, their signs are different. So in order to make this one to be x minus 6, all we have to do is pull out negative, and let me show you that. That makes this positive, because you pull out a negative, and then that makes this 6. Yeah, I should probably put down my eraser. That made that x positive, and that made the 6 negative. And so now, look at those. Now look at those. Those are, the parentheses are the same now. So let's take x minus 6, what's inside those parentheses, and go inside their own parentheses. And then what's outside of those parentheses will be put in their own set. And so from here, set both of them equal to 0. X will equal 6. We add 9 to both sides, and x will equal 9. So your two answers, your two solutions to the original is x equals 6 and x equals 9. This is a process. If you can figure out the process and you can work the process, this works for you every single time. So this is what I'm hoping you do. I'm hoping that you follow the same process to try the next few on your own, and then check your solution there. So I'm going to give you a few more. I believe they are, let's go ahead and move to the next one. This one says equals 24, and we know it's supposed to equal 0. So we'll go ahead and subtract 24 from both sides. X squared minus 2x minus 24 is equal to, and 24 minus 24, that's equal to 0. So we'll go ahead and I want you to go ahead and try and solve this out on your own. You can pause the video, work it all out, check your solution with mine, or you can pause the video, do the next step, and then play the video. You can watch what I do, make sure that each step that you do is what I'm doing, and that way, you know, if you're comfortable, go ahead and work it all out. If you're not comfortable, work each step out and then watch the video to make sure that you're getting each step correct. So go ahead and pause the video now and see what you can do. All right, the two numbers, 1, negative 24. So they got to multiply to get negative 24. They have to add up to get negative 2. I'm thinking, I don't want to choose 1 and 24, 2 and 12. I know that's not it. I'm thinking either 3, 8, or 4, 6. And now, remember, one of them has to be negative. So negative 3 plus 8 is a positive 5. Negative 4 plus 6 is a positive 2. Well, you could have used your thoughts here and said, hey, this has to be negative, so I know the larger number has to be negative. If what we're trying to add up equals negative, the larger number has to equal negative. So therefore, the two numbers we're using are 4 and negative 6. So let's split that up. We have x squared plus 4, x minus 6 minus 24. That's equal to 0. You want to factor out an x, and you're left with x plus 4. For the one on the right, you want to factor out a negative 6, and you're left with x plus 4. That's equal to 0. Real quick, negative 6x minus 24. I knew that this was negative 6 times x. This was negative 6 times 4. Remember, use as large of number as possible. So that's why negative 6 is outside. You have x and positive 4 left inside. We know that these two parentheses are the same, so they get their own parentheses together. And these two come together inside that one, and you set them equal to 0. X plus 4 equals 0. X minus 6 is equal to 0. And in this case, subtract 4 from both sides. X will be equal to negative 4. Add 6 to both sides. X is equal to 6. So you have those two answers. Those are your two roots. That's where the quadratic crosses the x-axis. That's where the parabola crosses the x-axis. Okay. Here's another one. I want you to go ahead and try and solve this one. This one here has a negative x squared. I would suggest making it a positive x squared. You can do a number of different things. Let's go ahead and add x squared to both sides. Add x squared to both sides and subtract 14x from both sides. Subtract 14x from both sides. So when we do this, these cancel and these cancel, leaving us with 0. And then we have x squared minus 14x and positive 48, which is already left on that side. And we did this because it made a positive x squared, which makes it, which is the examples that we've been working on. So go ahead and pause the video and work this out and see if you come up with the solutions that I come up with. Let me move this away from the edge a little bit. Move it over here. So it's 1 times 48, which is 48, negative 14x. Negative 14 goes up there. Two numbers that multiply to get 48, they add up to get negative 14. 4 and 12, that's 16. That's not it. And I know if I go negative 4 and negative 12, that makes a negative 16. So, which the negative sign matches up, so I will assume that if I have to multiply two numbers to get a positive and they have to add up to get a negative, both of those numbers will be negative, like negative 6 and negative 8. It's negative 14. And that's what we're looking for, negative 6 and negative 8. So 0 is equal to x squared minus 6x minus 8x plus 18. Put those two together. And let's factor some stuff out. So we factor out the x. So we get x minus 6. And here we factor out, what do you want to factor out? Let me bring it over here. 8x and 18. Well, I know that this in my parentheses has to be negative because it's negative here. So that's an indication that I have to pull out a negative. Okay, I have to pull out a negative. So let's go ahead and figure some of this up. 18 breaks down into 9 times 2, and 8 breaks down into 4 times 2. And so therefore we have a 2 and a 2. And like I said, let's pull out the negative. So if I pull out negative 2, I'm left with 4 and x. I'm left with 4 and x inside. And if I pull out the 2 here, remember I pulled out a negative 2, so that made this a negative because negative 9 times negative 2 was positive 18, and that leaves me negative 9 inside. That leaves me negative 9 inside. And so from here, we have negative 2 4x minus 9. And so you're looking there. You notice what you have in parentheses is not the same. You have x minus 6 and you have 4x minus 9. Those are not the same. So we are going to have a tough time factoring this one. We're going to have a tough time factoring this one like we've been doing. And when you get to a point like this, you know that you can't go any further with this part of it. You can't put these two together because they're not the same parentheses. And they have to be the same parentheses in order to do that. So this was a tough one. So now the question is, can we actually factor this? And we can factor it. Yes, we can. I'm checking my work here because I think I've done something wrong. I have done something wrong. This is the reason why. If you get in a hurry, you kind of miss some of these things. This positive 18 here should have been a positive 48. Should have been a positive 48. Sorry about that. Please note that there are mistakes to be made. But the important part is that you learn from your mistakes. And I've learned that I probably need to slow down a little bit. I was correct, though, in stating that since this is a positive, we do need to pull out a negative number. And the negative number that I want to pull out is going to be negative 8. And if we look here, we know negative 8 times negative 6 is a positive 48. Okay, so from here, we know negative 8 is in both of them, so we bring the negative 8 outside, and we have x minus 6 left inside, and that makes me feel a lot better. That makes me feel a lot better there. So we have that negative 8, and x minus 6 goes inside. And why does that make me feel better? Is because what's in those parentheses is the same. What's in that parentheses is the same. So we say x minus 6. And then these two will get put into their own parentheses, x minus 8. And from here, we go ahead and solve. X minus 6 equals 0. X minus 8 is equal to 0. X is equal to 6. We add 8 to both sides to get x is equal to 8. And so we have both of our answers there. Both of our answers. And this last one. This last one's already says equals 0. So you go ahead and work this out and see what you can come up with. Two numbers that multiply to get 4 that add up to get negative 5. Since they have to add up to get a negative number, I know both of them will be negative. And it looks like it's negative 4, negative 1. So we say x squared minus 4x minus 1x plus 4 is equal to 0. We've taken this negative 5 and put it as negative 4x minus 1x. So negative 5x is equal to negative 4x minus 1x. And we've just manipulated this. Let's go ahead and break this up. We're going to pull out an x. And we're left with x minus 4. Here, we pull out a... What can we pull out? Well, negative 1. Negative 1 is the only thing we can pull out because, see, this is a plus sign. And what we have down here in this other parentheses is a minus, so we need those to be We need those to be the same. It needs to say x minus 4. It says, right now, it says negative x plus 4. We pull out that negative 1, and then we have, what's negative 1x divided by negative 1? That's x. And what is positive 4 divided by negative 1? Well, that's negative 4. And that's what's left inside that parentheses. X minus 4 equals 0. These two go inside their own parentheses. And I know I'm not usually putting those two first parentheses. It doesn't matter which parentheses goes first. And now we solve this out. We have x minus 1 is equal to 0. X minus 4 is equal to 0. Plus 1, plus 1. And we add 4 to both sides here. And we have the two solutions to that quadratic. Okay, that's all we have for the moment. We'll try this next time I see you, and hopefully it's helping you out. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll try and clear those up.